And we're off with, episode number 6.
This is episode 6.
Although this should be really episode number 1 because this is our first solo episode with no guest.
No guests, and also in a new studio. We're still here in Boca at Pod Populi, but we are in a different studio.
Yeah,
a little more comfy, studio. A little more homey.
So we haven't gotten a lot of comments on YouTube, so we got to get more comments. So in the absence of comments, we're going to have to just come up with our own stuff to talk about.
Right, and I guess, if we have to get slightly inflammatory or whatever it takes to get people engaged.
So in that, you got anything to bring up, or should I start?
Usual gripes about traffic, and the driving down was just a nightmare as usual.
Gotcha.
I still stand by my statement that semis and tractor trailers should never be allowed out of the right lane, regardless, even if they have to come to a complete stop. And also, if you don't have cruise control, you shouldn't be allowed to drive on the highway.
Hey, wait! I don't have cruise control.
Well, then you're going to have to take local roads.
Here's the other. Convexly, I pretty much on the highway just have to keep my Jeep floored, so it's kind of.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's like,
if that's all
it only goes so fast.
You just put a brick on the pedal and let it go.
That's pretty much it on the Jeep. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
And just hope you don't get the death wobbles, because that's.
But yeah, it's 300 miles, 4 hours, or whatever. On the way down, I did see I was glad I was not going northbound. It was one of those. It was fresh too. A couple of cars that were just wiped out completely, and all 3 lanes were completely stopped.
Oh boy!
Everybody going that way definitely added at least an hour and a half to whatever they were trying to do.
Well, you're gonna have to eventually go back that way.
Yeah, eventually. But it would have made me late for sure today.
Yeah, we got to get you down here so we can just start doing this at our leisure instead of. So let me tell you about this the CNN story I was just relating to, which we also should mention that we are going to have an episode of just medical horror stories. Not yet, but in an upcoming episode.
It's coming.
And then
don't worry, the longer we wait to do it, the more I will amass.
I was going to say, by way of explaining, we've been a while since we did the last episode, and Ron had a little stint in the hospital.
Slight little medical episode.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a separate episode. But for this episode, I was just watching CNN, and I don't normally watch this. I don't have cable, but I was eating breakfast somewhere, and they had CNN on, and on Jake Tapper's show. Well, first of all, you know that they now require vaccines to pass a placebo test. They RFK just enacted that.
Okay.
Does that sound? But what do you think about that? And in general,
I mean, obviously, I didn't really know what the full modus operandi is for testing in general, but I thought that most vaccine tests did include placebo testing.
Apparently not.
I thought almost all medical drugs involved placebo testing.
So basically, placebo testing means your drug works better than nothing.
Well, technically, it is a sugar pill, so there's a little bit of sweetness
exactly.
to it.
All right, so they are all up in arms about the fact that RFK did this over at CNN on Jake Tapper's show, and there's a guy on there explaining the fact that the reason he's doing that is to undermine public confidence in vaccines. Could you possibly straighten that pretzel logic out for me?
No, I would think that doing further testing and further proving the efficacy of anything, including a vaccine, would make people more confident in it as opposed to less confident.
And these guys sat there and said this with a straight face. I'm looking at it like, these people are insane.
I mean, I've done a little bit of digging into different vaccines, and I was unaware. At first, I always thought that a vaccine was that there was just one type of vaccine, but I believe there might be at least 4, if not more, different. And when I say types, I don't mean for specific diseases. I mean the mechanism by which the vaccine operates.
Have you ever seen the clip of there's a
live attenuated, and then dead?
Well, there's a clip of a guy from the CDC saying basically that, hey, listen, we had to change the name of gene therapy to vaccine therapy because nobody wanted gene therapy.
Oh, with the MMR?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such a,
it's gene therapy. It's not a vaccine.
You are producing the vaccine, but it's inside your body that's producing it, and it's your cells doing the production. So, and I've always wondered how that doesn't. If you're trying to introduce this pathogen, and if it's coming from your body, doesn't your body just accept it as being okay because your body made it? I don't. Clearly,
we're not doctors.
Exactly. This is exactly why we're not, but we were certainly willing to share our opinions about it.
Yeah, but I just was watching this on CNN with my mouth open, just going like, how can you, Yeah, he just wants people to not take vaccines. And I'm like, so by proving it works better than nothing.
But yeah, I thought placebo testing was routine for any medication.
Yeah, apparently not. And of course, they just put a ban on us funding any kind of gain of function research. I don't know if you saw that. That was just like yesterday or today or something. Yep, they signed. It's funny. The people just hate Trump so much. He doesn't even know what he's signing. The guy's standing there saying what he's signing. This is the ban, all domestic and abroad, anywhere. We're not financing any gain of function.
Right.
Oh, he doesn't know what he's signing. I'm pretty sure he heard him. The guy's standing right there. It's not like he's in a different room. I think he knows what he's signing.
Right. Did that have anything to do with...
And Trump's a moron. I'm the first one to say
Yeah.
it, but he's not that stupid.
Yeah, he did probably read it before he signed it. Does that have anything to do with and again, I only saw like a blurb about this, but apparently a National Institute of Health had some lab that was using beagles, and it's being shut down.
Was
or
Dr. Fauci, yes.
They're not being allowed to do that anymore? Yeah.
But that was a big thing like years ago when it was during the pandemic. A lot of people were like, oh, this guy's a dog murderer, dog torturer, and then apparently he is.
And don't get me wrong, I understand the need for, I don't think animals should be used for cosmetics. If they want to make sure lipstick is safe to use or something like that.
Even animal testing medically has proved not to be very effective and not really been that worth it.
Well, the weight disparity and the biological disparities. But another mammal is going to be like us in some regards, but certainly it's not going to be.
Truthfully,
the closer they get, the more unethical the testing becomes, which is why.
Not necessarily, because the closest this animal to us is a pig.
Well, no, the closest animals to it would be like a bonobo or a chimp.
Not true. We can't use their heart valves and stuff. We can use stuff from a pig.
I know I have some medication that's actually made from pig.
Oh yeah,
because of I have this like enzymes that I take that are basically made from pig pancreases, and in fact, it even states, it's pretty funny that the doctor before he prescribed it to me asked me if I was like an Orthodox Jew or a strict Muslim. Because if so,
it wasn't kosher or something.
Well, here's the thing: would have to get permission from
a rabbi
or a imam. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right or what the word, But yes, you would have to.
That just brings us to
make sure that it's okay for you to use this medication. Yeah.
All right, what do you think about religion?
Oh,
wait a minute. Let me see. Let me look through my notes because I know I have something about religion on here. God. Well, we could talk about Douglas Murray. Oh, we could talk about. You think? Oh, here's the thing.
I think religion is a great way to help people with a fear of dying, and I think that's what its primary source has always been.
Exactly what I wanted to talk about, and that was that what is it called? The we're in the Matrix. We're in a simulation. That's the new religion.
Yeah. It still offers the same promise of waking up at the end of whatever this is into some other existence. Game over, restart.
Respawn at the spawn point. And,
it is essentially the same thing. It's just cyberpunk version of what was once religious.
Taking over as the new religion. No, it's all a simulation. It's all a simulation. Okay, that's the new religion now.
But yeah, no, I've never agreed with organized religion. I certainly understand how, or at least I get, that the older something is and the more shrouded in the myth and mystery of time, somehow the easier it is for people to accept, which is why I have a perverse and utmost respect for both Scientology and Mormonism.
Right,
because to pull that off,
new guys on the block. To
pull that off is recent. We have pictures of Elron,
especially with
there's video footage of the guy. You know what? All the books that he wrote,
especially when you're selling magic underwear. I mean, that's one hell of a.
And South Park did a great takedown on them with their Mormon episode, just vicious.
Who's that?
South Park.
Oh yeah,
it's many years ago, but yeah, they really laid it all out, and they did the same thing to Scientology too. And I believe at the end of the episode, Stan even says, "Go ahead, sue me."
Well, apparently Scientology, you got to worry about more than that. Apparently they'll come after your ass.
Yeah, and then, dig up dirt on you and stuff like that. But
I've heard that they'll come after you physically, like come and try to kick your ass.
No, I'd never heard that.
What was that? Oh, did you ever see that show with
they're
what's her
gonna
name?
have to send somebody bigger than Tom Cruise.
Yeah, no, don't you know the chick from the King of Queens or whatever that show?
Lee Remini?
Yes. Yeah. You ever watch her show?
Yeah. I've seen her.
I think in that show they got a little testy, and they were like, about to get into it with some people. Like, we'll just kick your ass.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
I think I could be wrong. I could be misremembering, but I could have swore they got a pretty. Maybe it was the Bill Mayer film that I'm thinking of. Religious? You ever watch
Religulous.
that? Yeah.
That's been a while. But
They got
I've
kicked off
seen
of
that.
Scientology. Or no, that was a Mormon thing, I think. They got kicked off of one of those places, and they're like, as soon as they showed up, they're like, oh, no, get out of here with that stuff.
But yeah, I mean, organized religion it's an excellent way to, again, put aside one's fear of death. I guess it could be used to set up a moral framework, but you certainly don't need it to do so, even though I've heard the argument that you do, and I don't adhere to that. But pulling it off in these modern times is just kind of astonishing that you can get away with that.
Somebody's giving that Joel Osteen guy money.
To think that just yours is right and all the others are wrong.
Yeah, right.
It's so illogical. And not to mention the fact that you're literally your time in geography and your time in history really dictates.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're born in the middle of an Islamic Shia law country, chances are pretty good you're going to grow up to be Islamic and be a Muslim. Be Muslim.
Born a poor black boy and Baptist in Southern, but once you get in prison, then you turn into a Muslim.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all dependent on time and place and location.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What does blow my mind too, and even with again, I said that the new religion's amazing that they even got a foothold, to be founded and when people were modern. Amazing. But it blows my mind that, like, I understand if you're a kid and you're brought up in a religious household and you're indoctrinated, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
And whether it teaches you good values or not, you're definitely indoctrinated. But what blows my mind, and I don't think it's a large percentage, but there are people that convert to all three of the big three.
Oh, yeah.
That were raised in a secular manner.
And dude, from what I hear,
somehow came to the realization in their 20s or whatever, as a full-grown rational adult, that all makes sense.
And from what I hear, it's not easy to convert to Judaism. It's like downright a job, and like
I know you have to like attend classes and take tests and stuff.
You got to do all kinds of stuff.
You got to put in the work.
Like it's like what?
You got to put in the work.
What now?
Yeah, it's not. You don't just get baptized and walk up to the front.
It's funny you mentioned indoctrination, and I'm like, of all the people I know, you and I are probably the least indoctrinated of anything really that I know of, and I think the reason for that is we were both pretty much raised feral.
Well, my grandmother made an attempt.
Well, sure. All kinds of people made attempts.
Made me go to church and stuff with her, but my mom never followed up on it, and so I
went to church.
I weaseled my way out of it pretty quickly.
I went to church once with my mom to a Black Baptist church. We looked like two ping pong balls in an oil slick. It was freaking amazing, dude. It was insane. It was really insane.
Like a Pentecostal?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Like, was it lively?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like Blues Brothers lively?
I wasn't quite that level. Like nobody was dancing around in the aisles.
And, James
but
Brown
there was definitely lots of music and people, in their seats, singing and dancing, and nobody got too crazy, but nobody went nuts or anything. But it was a lively. It was interesting. And I think I was probably like 7 or 8 or something like that.
Well, right around the time of the creation of Mormonism, I mean, the amount of Protestant offshoots. That's where Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventists, there's a whole bunch of Christian Protestant denominations that it was like a revival or a reawakening of religious fervor in the United States back then.
I'm religiously ignorant for the most part because I don't.
Well, as much as I don't adhere to any religion, I do find it very fascinating.
I was going to say, you seem to know quite a bit about it.
Especially the older and more rare or arcane the religion may be. And I think Christopher Hitchens if it wasn't him, it was another one of the big four big atheists that said, I mean, everybody's an atheist. It's just, think about all the thousands of gods that came in the history that were in good standing with our ancestors. Might have been Sam Harris. I think it was Sam Harris that said it. That are now either lost to time or completely not even, thought of as mythical. Zeus was once believed to be real. Thor was once believed to be real. I pull that on in a Marvel movie, but like an actual thunder god.
I pull that on some of my religious friends all the time. I'm like, screw Christ. I follow Zeus. He's the true God.
Yeah, I think I've told a couple of missionaries that knocked on my doors before that I followed all the old gods, or I think I've even used some the Cthulhu mythos, which completely fictional. H.P. Lovecraft and stuff no, I worship Cthulhu, which if you ever read any of the books is not a good idea.
What were all the religions before Christianity that they stole from? Because all that stuff's stolen, right? The Christian birth or the virgin birth and
a lot of it is
all
borrowed,
derived from some other.
A lot of it is borrowed from older civilizations that get passed down because there's a lot of similarities between.
Like there were a bunch of Egyptian gods,
there's always a lawgiver whose name starts with an M. And that's like Moses or Maimon or Maimonides, or there's like four different. There's a Babylonian, a Sumerian, you know. And then there's the flood story also goes back.
Well, the flood story I think is common because I think the flood happened. You know, obviously the anger. What is it? Something Dryas Savannah or whatever it's called.
Younger Dryas. Well, I mean Doggerland was wiped out literally within a day.
Who?
Doggerland is basically what the English Channel is right now, but all of the area between England and France once was not underwater.
Really?
And that was literally wiped out within like a 36-hour period of time. That they have archaeological evidence that shows how fast it happened with the sediment and the silt being deposited.
Gotcha.
And so there is some historical precedent for some places in the world where shit went bad real fast, you know, and everybody got drowned really, really fast.
Most everybody.
But it would be hard to, you know, think that people in the Middle East were talking about, you know, the Doggerland. But then again, it's possible.
Well, it seems to be a common thread in just about every religion, at least that we know about, is that, you know, there was a great cleansing and some kind of great flood. And
and the reason why these stories are so similar in all these things is because of the symbolism. A lot of it has to do with the Son of God being the literal sun, and the equinox, and the days getting longer, meaning that the end of winter is finally there, and life is, you know, hopeful again in spring, and all the animals are fucking, and everybody's, you know, laying eggs, and then you get the whole Easter with the bunnies and whatnot. It's all linked together.
Have you heard that there's yet another planet in our solar system, but it only comes around every like 12,000 years?
I have.
Now that would explain a lot if that were true.
Well, I mean, what would it explain, though? I mean,
that if it came close to Earth, the gravitational force
would fuck everything. Okay,
I screw everything up.
I thought
if nothing else, just suck all the water to one side of the planet or something.
Right.
You know,
I thought
whatever.
you were saying like some kind of alien life or something. I'm like, if the orbit is so big that it only comes around once every that long, it's got to be a frozen rock.
Exactly.
Most of its
I was going to say that's the life wouldn't be very likely on that because exactly in the very deep depth of space. How would you survive? There's no way.
But, unless it itself is like orbit's a binary system, but I don't think there's a star close enough. Again, I'm not up on my cosmology, and we're just talking out our ass.
Certainly not close enough to be warm in between the travel, unless it was really hauling ass. And that would actually, if there was something going that fast, that might. But I mean, who knows if it? You know, I wonder if that were the case, wouldn't it mess with the other planets too? I would think, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, but then again, if it's every what did you say, 19,000 years?
I think they're saying it's like 12.5.
Oh, 12.5? Okay. Well, then that means like it would literally only been once in recorded history, and that's not even recorded history.
That would explain the flood, or the Dryas Savannah or whatever, you know, that seems to be. But then a lot of the elements of the what the hell is it called again? Younger Dryas event, right? So like some of the elements that a lot of people say prove that this happened all over the earth is that I guess if you dig down to a certain level, no matter where you are, you come to a layer of, I guess, silt, like that's everywhere, no matter where you go. You dig down far enough, you get this layer of silt that's apparently was about 11, 12,000 years ago.
Right.
You know, so I don't know.
I think I've seen enough different things that lead me to believe that, there was definitely something that happened, some catastrophic event that happened that time ago. I don't, however, believe that there was a globe-spanning civilization that spread agriculture and knowledge and pyramid building and math and everything to everybody all over the world.
You don't think there was a civilization before that? You don't?
No.
I do.
No, I'm not saying there weren't civilizations, but I do not think it was any kind of advanced, not globe spanning, not sailing all around everything.
How do you explain all the megalithic structures that are that old?
Well, because different cultures independently. Look, if all you have is manpower and you want to build something big, you're going to build it in a pile, and it's always going to end up being a pyramid.
No, but there's other structures like what's the place in Peru?
Machu Picchu.
No, not that one. There's
Göbekli Tepe in Turkey.
Well, Göbekli Tepe is another place.
Yeah, I'm not saying there wasn't.
No, there's other places where like there's a megalithic stone that they can't figure out how they put together, and they're like earthquake proof, and it looks like the stone's kind of been melted together. And like it's got joints where you can't.
I know that the Machu Picchu ones where they talk about the perfect symmetry and that you can't put a card through them or anything.
Well, that's true, but I think Machu Picchu is more about the altitude.
Right, but that has all been debunked. They found the place on site where they've got the casting, the tools, the copper tools to do it. The technology existed.
Yeah. Machu Picchu may be explainable, but there are a bunch of other megalithic things that they can't explain.
I've not seen one yet that I was not satisfied with the debunking on.
See, and this is where...
And this would be something we will have to revisit this subject at another time, and we can bring up some more stuff and more information.
We go, all right, look that
bring
up
that
for
up.
us.
Exactly.
Anyway. But yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly, but yeah, I mean...
No, but what I'm saying is, as far as a globe-spanning single civilization that like teaches everybody... And the main reason, my biggest problem, aside from the sheer fact that there's no hard evidence, is that there's no genetic drift evidence in populations. There's no evidence that one group put a little bit of, other than original African DNA. And the other reason I don't believe it is because of agriculture. Because if you really were a global spanning civilization, why would you leave, up until the Columbian Exchange, tomatoes and chocolate and vanilla, there were some things that existed in the New World that the Old World had. They never had corn. They never had chili peppers. Thai food wasn't spicy. Italian food didn't have tomatoes in it.
So you're saying they would have spread them all around before the flood?
Long before.
But what if the flood wiped all that out?
Even if the flood wiped it out, it would still leave evidence. It would still leave...
Oh, I don't know about that. 12,000 years later?
It would still leave evidence because descendants of those plants would grow. There's no way. And also, there's no evidence of any of those plants from other places being in the diet of any of the sites that they do find from early hunter-gatherers and stuff in that period.
Here's the thing, though. You're after the flood, I agree. There's no way for them to do that. But I think you're underestimating the level of damage a worldwide flood would actually do.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you brought that up. I don't ever believe there was a worldwide flood.
Aha, see?
No, there was a regional. Something happened that was so devastating to an area or a region.
All right, let's say
they thought it was a world-ending disaster because it was their world.
All right,
but
globally,
let's go water covering the entire planet while humans lived on it never happened.
Well, let's go with the evidence. There's a layer of silt. All right, so that doesn't really actually necessarily indicate a flood. But I would say there was some kind of event, maybe an asteroid impact or something, that probably created a little nuclear winter for a few years, maybe a decade. And that's what possibly wiped everything out.
That could be
any kind of flood that they
could be, but
about.
A nuclear winter would, if anything, lock up more water as ice, and thereby would be even less of a flood.
Well, after the impact, yeah. That would take a while, though.
I don't believe that there was ever a global flood. I do believe that a huge region could have been flooded, and if you were an ancient farmer or shepherd or whatever in Sumeria and witnessed a massive ass flood, then your whole world is flooded. And
but none of those people I don't think ever claimed to see it. I think they've always claimed it was in the past. I don't think any religion has said we saw it. Well, Noah, but that's
right.
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't have any of the other, like the Sanskrit or the Sumerian or the Babylonian records, but they're in their records there may be somebody who said they saw it. I don't believe any of them said they saw it. It was always in the past, as it happened in the past. But let me run this. But the Noah thing too is another reason why my grandma's ability to keep me in church didn't last very long, because I asked a lot of questions at Sunday school, and pretty much the first one they came up with was the Noah one. I'm like, so Noah was in the Middle East, right? So like he had kangaroos on the ark. Yeah. He had grizzly bears, polar bears.
That's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. I don't know if you've heard. All right, Methuselah was Noah's grandfather, right?
I think so.
A lot of people are saying they were aliens. Like Noah was because apparently Noah was described as this really pale, tall dude or something like that.
I don't remember the physical description of him, no.
But apparently, if you read like in the Old Testament or something, he's like this weird dude, and he had all these magical powers and stuff. And so a lot of these people are like, oh yeah, he was an alien. Like,
some biblical names just have so much clout, and I've known guys named Noah, and I've even met a couple of black dudes named Moses. You know what I mean?
So,
but you know who I've never met? I've never met a Nimrod. Do you know that Nimrod is actually, I can't remember who he was in the Old Testament, but Nimrod is a dude from the Old Testament, And the only way I've ever heard the word used is for an idiot or a nincompoop.
God,
so I'm assuming that he must have done something really foolish in whatever story he was in.
Named Nimrod.
But Nimrod is just, that's chef's kiss on that. That is a great biblical name. You know, you want Daniels and Matthews and Marks and Lukes? No. This is my son Nimrod, in whom I am well pleased. Put your helmet on and go play, Nimrod.
Oh, God. That's good. All right, so let me throw this scenario at you. What do you think would happen if the poles shift?
That could fuck everything up pretty good.
Right, like if it did it very quickly.
But again,
like apparently it's shifting right now.
But again, I still don't see that as evidence for a flooding of the entire Earth.
Well, if the poles shifted very quickly, that would, first of all...
Well, it would cause volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis all at the same time.
There's a lot of water that would be displaced and have to go somewhere. So, I mean, there wouldn't be too many places on Earth that wouldn't get wet, I would think. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on how quickly they shift. I mean, if they shift in like a day... You know, the ocean's going to go over the land, and the land's coming under the ocean. You know, it's all.
I think I've read once that one of the evidence they know that the poles have shifted in the past has to do with the rings of coral that encircle the Earth, because apparently coral only grows at a certain latitude north and south of the equator.
Absolutely,
so has to be just right.
They say it's shifting right now, just like really slowly. You know, they say it's shifted a couple of degrees every year for the past, I don't know, fucking 10 years or some shit. Who knows? But I mean, as long as it happens slowly. No big deal. Who cares?
Right.
You know, eventually...
You just tune your compass just a little bit, and you're good to go.
Well, I mean, and eventually, obviously, there'll be some kind of climate change, which obviously we're causing. That's the stupidest thing.
I mean, even if we're not causing, which we might not be, or at least not to the extent that we are, but the methods we're going about trying to stop ourselves from causing it is not helping.
No.
We're just minding the shit out of everything.
That's what I tell these idiots that debate this all the time. Well, is it man-made or not? And like, who cares? All right, first of all, if the weather is changing and you think it's changing for the worse, what do you plan to do about it? Let's hear your plan.
Well, Elon's got a plan.
Yeah, there's
going to go to Mars.
They've been apparently the whole chemtrails thing is a plan. You know,
everything's a plan.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different plan.
Not working so well, though, is it?
Who's in charge of the plans? That's the problem.
And then what do you think about them proving the chemtrails are real now?
I just saw that yesterday.
Well, I didn't. Here's the other thing. All right, so they're saying they're making all these revelations about Epstein Island and P. Diddy and the fact that the royal family is child trafficking. Like, didn't everybody just assume that, like me? I mean, you're not surprising me with any of this. That's what I assumed they were doing.
What are they claiming the chemtrails are, or what's the plan? Because I know about cloud seeding. I mean, that's a real thing. No, it's just they're supposedly putting, I don't know, little aluminum particles or some shit in the atmosphere to try and reflect the sunlight. So a little strip behind a plane. Yeah.
Like, all right, okay, how does that work out for you, you know?
I mean, they're all an awful lot of flights every day. Put them in every one, but...
Yeah, I don't, okay, good luck with that. I don't know. But I keep doing it. I don't care. I mean, like, the people that are freaked out about it's like, so what? What are they doing? Is there spraying shit in the air? It's like, and then it's bad for you. Well, what are the people that are spraying it breathing? They have different air than us?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they breathing the same air as us? Why would they put stuff you can't breathe in the air? Anyway, whatever. I don't get it.
I think the biggest problem as far as power consumption, though, is going to be these giant data farms for the AI. I mean, and that's another reason you also have to look about, so if there is or is not a human effect on global warming or climate change or whatever, and you have activists that are genuine idealists that truly believe that we are causing the problem. But at the same time as that, you also have other foreign actors in other countries and whatnot that are antagonizing those protesters because it's in their best interest that we do throttle back our energy production as a nation. China wants to get to AGI before we do, and the way to do it is to build bigger and bigger plants, which they're doing by building shitloads of nuclear plants left and right. Thing.
Obviously, you don't hear about what they really can do for good 10, 15 years since they've been doing it. I guarantee you they've got some way to make limitless power, and they're just not telling us yet. They've got some way.
And they've already been using that to train their AIs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, look, even at a bridge gap, we should be going nuclear. You know, I mean, why we're not using nuclear power is just beyond me. They can do it.
You think they have the Tesseract? They got it?
Yes, I think they do. They have something like that. But in the meantime, we should do nuclear. Because it's like, look, if they can put nuclear in a sub.
Well, the biggest, that's a great point. The biggest problem with limitless power is how do you make money off of it?
That's it. That's why we're not going to see it.
So yes, of course, if they have it, they're certainly not going to release it.
Absolutely not. And on that lovely note, I saw our guest is here. So let's wrap up this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Yep, we will be back in shortly.